Hello everybody, it is your girl Iris Celeste and welcome to today's tutorial. As you see from the title of today's video, today we will be going over terrain, which has been a very much requested tutorial, and I'm so excited to bring it to you guys today. Today we will specifically be talking about all the basics of terrain, how to do it, different tips and tricks, and then I'm actually going to show you how I made this beautiful terrain in the background. But the tips and the demonstration video will actually be in a part 2 because I didn't want this video to be too long and scare off all the newbies. So for those of you who do not want to see the basics, it's okay. If you look up in the top right corner, I believe there will be a little eye icon that will lead you to the next video, which is part 2. But if you're early and it is not out yet, don't worry, it will be posted tomorrow and you'll get a notification for that, so just stay tuned. I promise both parts will be out a day apart, so you'll be able to watch them both. So make sure you hit that like button so that this video can branch out to more people. Subscribe and hit that notification bell, just so when that video comes out, you'll get the notification. But without further ado, let's get right on into the actual basics for those of you who don't know. So the first thing I should probably show you is exactly how to get to terrain. Now I know a lot of you already know, but just for those of you who don't know, all you have to do is go ahead and go to your home tab and you want to click your editor. It is right next to your toolbox. I have it highlighted up on your screen and it should bring in your terrain editor. It'll either come up on your left side or right side. Mine is on my left side, so you know, all that good stuff. Now that you have your terrain editor open, you will see 3 different categories. There's create, region, and edit. Now, we will not be really focusing on create just because that's not specifically how you make your own terrain. It kind of like generates it for you. I will quickly show you a demonstration of what the create category does. It's really simple, but we'll mostly be worried about our region and editing. So here's a quick small showcase of what the create region does. Now as you see, it literally generated the terrain for you, but if you notice, it doesn't really look that good, at least compared to mine. Personally, I think so. It's really cool how it generates it for you, but sometimes it just doesn't look the way you want it to. So, which is why we're going to be creating our own today with the region and editing categories. They're much easier to use. Well, not easier, but you know, it gets what you want faster instead of just keep on generating something that you really don't even know if it's going to be able to do it. So let's get right on into explaining those 2 categories. Now the first category we'll be going over is going to be the editing category. Probably like, why? Well, because this is the main category that you are going to be using to create this beautiful masterpiece. Now there are around 9, I think it's 9, there we go, it's 9. There are 9 different sections in this category, but we will only be going over 7 just because they're the ones that I use the most, the ones that I'm okay with, and they're the ones that you're mainly going to be using the entire time. So let's get right on into explaining these 7 sections, starting with adding your own terrain into the world. Alright, so the first thing we will be going over in the editing section is how to add terrain into your world, which is going to be super easy. All you're going to have to do is click the add section inside of the editing category, and then after that you'll actually be able to click wherever inside your world and it will be able to add that terrain. Now if you do look on your screen while you're moving your mouse around, there's going to be a big blue ball, which is obviously where your terrain is going to spawn at. But while you're moving, you will also notice that there are these really weird grids on your game, which can be a little confusing, but all this does is make sure that wherever you click, that ball is going to stay on that grid, like in a straight line, as I'm showing you on the screen here. Now what you want to do if you want it to be straight down is all you're going to do is going to place it on the ground and have your camera looking downwards, which allows your grid to be straight flat on the ground. And it's exactly where you want it. All you're going to do is just click and drag and just hold it and just start coloring the way I am just right here. I have it all on the screen for you, so if me saying it is a little confusing, don't worry about it. I know it's a little bit weird, but you know, here's the basics. It's all on the screen for you and the demonstration is there along with the words. Now that you got that basically down, we're going to be moving on to the adding settings. Now this is not intimidating. Don't let it intimidate you. If you look in your terrain editor, you'll notice that there are brush settings and material settings. First, I'm going to go over the material settings because it's super duper easy. If you look, you will see that there are tons of new materials for your terrain that you can use All you do is just have to click one and begin adding it to see what each one is. You can go ahead and experiment with that. I also have pictures of it on the screen. Now for your brush settings, this is where it gets a little bit creative. You'll see that there are 3 different types of brushes. You have your circle, you have your square, and you have your cylinder. Now for these 3 different shapes, your paint brushes, I will have different tips for each one of these and their uses, personally what I use them for, in the part 2 of this video. So make sure you watch this, and then tomorrow you can go ahead and watch that, or if it's already out. Now for the other settings inside of the brush settings, the only thing I'm going to be talking about is the base size, which changes how big your brush tool is. Now for the other ones, pivot, position, plane lock, snap to grid, ignore water, I'm going to be explaining that later in the video or in another video. I'm not really sure yet as I'm editing this, but don't worry about those just yet. Since you're still a beginner, we're going to be worrying about brush size and bases. Alrighty, so the next section is going to be subtract, which means that it's taking away land, which means that this is usually how you can delete it. I don't really use this too often because I usually really don't need to, but just like the other one, all you do is just have to put your mouse or your brush over whatever terrain that's already there, and you just swipe it over it and it'll be gone. Yeah, that's kind of about it. There's brushes with it. Same 3 brushes, it's no different. Like I said, you can change the base size of it, how big or small you want your brush. Super duper simple. Alrighty, so the next section, which is going to be grow. Now this is my favorite section in the editing category. This is like the thing that I use the most, which is the grow button. So for the grow button, you're actually already going to want to have land down. Now earlier in the video, like 2 steps ago, I told you I always have a nice flat terrain to start off my base. Well, this grow button is what I use to mainly like texture my builds and stuff. So basically what you want to do is you want to click your brush, and as soon as you click it, you'll see that you have your brush out on your world when you move your mouse around, and all you're gonna have to do is click whatever plane or whatever land you have placed down. And as you can see from on the screen, my land has grown from the already existing land. So all the grow tool does is that it helps like your land like get bigger. You see it on the screen. It's so hard to explain. It just kind of like adds on to it. So when you're learning about terrain, especially with the grow tool, just click around, do random stuff, use different base sizes. It doesn't really matter all that much. Oh, and by the way, for the grow tool, there is a different strength. So strength means how much you want your tool to be working. So like let's say I have my strength all the way to 0. That growing effect is going to be super duper slow, unlike if it's all the way at the number 1, it's going to grow super duper fast and sometimes out of control. Personally, when I'm making mountains, I always have it at 1 because it goes a lot faster. But if I'm trying to add like super duper small details and I don't want it to be too much, I usually put it at 0, and that also has to do with the base size. Alrighty, so the next section is going to be erode, which is the complete opposite of grow. It means that your whatever your mouse is on, whatever that brush tool is on, it's actually going to get smaller. Now you'll usually see me using this when I'm actually sculpting something, and again, the settings are going to be exactly the same with the strength. When it's at 1, that means it's at its biggest strength and it's going to erode and get delete. It's kind of like a deleting tool. I don't know how to explain that. It's like a deleting tool. Like it's slowly pushing in whatever your brush is on. It's not completely deleting it, it's just pushing inside of it. That did not sound right. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I usually use this tool when I'm trying to sculpt something out. Like for example, if I'm trying to sculpt out a river, which you currently see on the screen, me sculpting out what the river should do and look like, you know, inside the ground. Oh, that gets, I'm so sorry. I cannot think of a better way to I'm so sorry. Alright, so the next thing we're going to be going over is going to be the smoothing tool, which it basically is what it says it is. It's just going to be smoothing out your land. It has the same exact brushes and the same exact strength settings. Like I said, 0 is not so much smoothing. 1 is going to be, it's going to smooth it all the way. You see it on the screen currently. Here's the little example. I'm so sorry. This tutorial is not serious at all. It's just gonna smooth out your land as you see on the screen. Alrighty, so the next section is going to be Flatten. Now before I go into detail on this one, I've only used one of the settings inside of this tool because it's relatively new, at least to me. Pretty sure it's been there for maybe like a month or two and I just really haven't gotten to it. Just because I mean I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. But what I do know is that first category on your flatten mode does exactly what it says it does, which is flatten out your land based on whatever the grid is on. There is an example up on your screen. Obviously, you put your grid to wherever you need it. You go do you as long as it does what you need it to do. And then you flatten it with your tool, just like I'm showing you. But other than that, I really can't explain the other two categories. I just really haven't played with it, and I really don't want to give you guys information on something that I really don't know too much about, if that makes sense. So on to the next one. Alrighty, so this next one is obviously a very important one. It is going to be paint. Painting basically just means that, let's say you have your terrain down and you have it in grass, but then later you're like, oh my god, I don't want it to be grass, I want it to be leafy grass. That is okay. All you have to do is click your paint tool and click whatever material that you like, and you want to go ahead and start, you know, clicking everywhere that you want that specific new material terrain to be, if that makes sense. I have a demonstration up on the screen. I'm sorry, my words are just everywhere today. I hope that makes sense. You're basically just painting over it. You're not changing how big it is, how small it is, just the type of material that specific terrain is. Alrighty, and for the last two, I actually will not be going over those two. I will only be going over 7 sections, which is the ones that I just went over. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I haven't really messed with sea level or replace yet, so I don't really have tips for those yet. But when I do, I will most definitely make a video on it. Alright, so the next category is going to be region. Alrighty, so next is the region category, and you guys are going to want to pay attention to this one because I promise you this is really going to help. And I don't see many tutorials on this, so let's get right into it. So for the first one, you're going to go ahead and click select. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take your mouse and you want to drag it just like so. And you'll notice that a blue square comes up. Now there are these little circles, there's about 6 of them, and you can drag these to change how big or how small that the actual box is. Now what the box actually does is it selects all of the terrain that is inside of that particular box. So if part of your terrain is not inside of that box, that part of the terrain will not be messed with. Now if you have like actual buildings on the terrain, don't worry, it will not select those buildings, so you don't have to worry about that. Now before I get into the rest of the 7 sections, I do want to say for every single section in the regions category, you're going to want to make sure that you have your select button on and that that box is inside some type of piece of land, because the rest of these have to go with that box that you have already created with your select button. If that doesn't make sense, it'll make sense when I'm talking about the other ones, so don't think too hard on it right now. Now the next section will be the move section. Now what this section does is it's basically going to move a piece of terrain that's already settled down. So let's say for example that you have a mountain and you want to move this mountain to a whole different area. What you would want to do is again take your select and you want to put your entire mountain inside of this blue box, and then what you want to do is you want to press the move button, and you'll notice that when you press the move button that your box will turn white and it'll have arrows. Now what you can do is you can actually take those different arrows and you can move them around, and then when you move them around you'll notice that the box will move with the terrain. So wherever the box goes, your terrain that was selected inside of that box will move with it, just like I'm showing you on the screen right here. It is so cool, it is so useful. Let me tell you, I've used this so many times. I'm gonna show you guys like a little combo that I usually do when I get super lazy later on when I explain the other sections, but that's basically what the move one is. So for the next section is going to be Resize. Now again, just like I said for the first one, it is going to apply to every single section inside of the region. You want to make sure that you have whatever terrain you're messing with inside of that blue box. And for resize, basically what this does is it's going to resize your terrain. Now this one, when I figured this out, it absolutely blew my mind. So as you see, I have my mountain selected and inside of the box. So when you click the resize tool, there will be a white box now, and it's going to have 6 white balls. They're like they're circles, okay? Now you're gonna click your circles, and when you click your circles and move them, you'll notice that your piece of terrain is going to like shift and move. It's going to get bigger or smaller depending on however you move your circles. Mine is going to get bigger because I'm making it bigger. Now as you see, my mountain looks a little bit dysfunction. It's spread out, it's like a lot bigger. It's kind of like a person eating a lot and just getting like 10 times bigger than it was before, except you're scaling it. Now with this one, it's okay if it looks a little dysfunctional. All you do is just have to go back into your edit mode and you can smooth it out. I'll show you guys that later inside of the tutorial. But that's basically what the resize does. And since we're talking about this right now, I'm going to go ahead and move to the second section, which is going to be rotation. Now the same thing with rotation. As soon as you click it, it's going to be a white box and it's going to show the rotation like little symbols. I don't even know what to call these, but it looks like the regular rotation. Now when you rotate it, it's going to be super duper limited, which I hate it, but that's the way it is with the region category. Whenever you're messing with terrain, you're able to actually rotate whatever is inside of that white box. It's only going to go like 4 different ways depending on which circle you choose. It's really retarded, but I promise you in the future it might help you a little bit. So for these next 3, which is going to be copy, paste, and delete, these 3 are basically the same thing in which you use in the regular Roblox studio with building. Now first you're going to select something. Right now I'm selecting my mountain, and I want to go ahead and copy my mountain. Now next, after I copy my mountain, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my select button and I'm going to drag it somewhere else in my map. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press paste. And as you can see from on the screen, my mountain actually pasted somewhere else on the screen, which is absolutely amazing, because if you're lazy like me and you don't want to keep on making mountains, all you do is just have to copy and paste it and just place it somewhere else. This also has to do with your move, because after you paste it, you can move it, rotate it, resize it to however you want. That's basically what the copy and paste are for. And of course, you see the delete sign. That's obviously what you need to delete if you don't want it anymore. Alrighty, and last but not least is going to be the fill button. Now the fill button means that whatever is in your selected part, it is going to fill it up with whatever material that you choose. So the first thing that you want to do obviously is go ahead and click wherever you want your selection to be at. Mine right now is just going to be in midair, and as soon as you click that and you click fill, you're going to see a bunch of material settings pop up. All you're going to want to do is click whatever material setting or material selection that you want. Mine personally is going to be grass, and on the bottom of it you're going to see the word fill. And as soon as you click it, you will notice that in your world, that entire box that was highlighted is now filled up with whatever material that you selected. Alrighty my loves, it is actually coming to an end for this video, but before I send you off, I do want to say there is going to be a part 2 that is popping up on your screen if it is already posted, but don't worry if it's not. It's going to be posted tomorrow, which is not a lot of time, so do not worry. Now if you have already gone through this video and you are a little confused and you're trying to start your build off and you have no idea where to start, do not worry. I actually already have a video posted on how to start your own terrain, because I do know that sometimes when you're using terrain you have absolutely no idea where to start. So I do have a video on that. It is right here on your screen and up in the eye and in the description down below. So if you're interested in watching that, make sure you go watch those, because they are very helpful and they will help you on your journey to learning how to use terrain. Now, if you did enjoy today's video and today's video did help you, make sure you go down and you hit that like button so that you can also help others get better with terrain too, and it'll help the channel expand and I can post more and all that other good stuff. If you did want to see more content from me, or you do, sorry, English, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and comment down below how this helped you, and if it did not, don't worry, it is okay. Just give me some positive feedback inside of the comment section so I can always fix whatever I'm messing up inside of my videos. But without further ado, I will see you guys tomorrow or in the next video. I love you all. I hope this helped, and I will see you all later.